It's that time again. It's your favorite hosts, Jordan and Nick. We're coming at you with another episode of the Valley of Spirits. I decided I would drag Nick back out closer to my home, actually. We went to Valdrakken, and we went to Valsmacken, all kinds of names. And we went to the Secret Tavern, which it's not so secret. You just go to the tavern in Thaldrazis, and there's an odd statue in the back, and you slash bow while targeting it, and then you'll get into the Secret Tavern. So we're hanging out. They do like raves and stuff down here sometimes. It's a quiet night for us, fortunately. Yeah, and maybe actually speaking, I had to dust out my cave a little bit. It'd been a little while since I'd been back at the cave.
Oh.
And so it sounds like maybe...
Where have you gone? Where have you been?
I know. My little cave maggots missed me, or whatever. I actually might be able to show you a house here soon.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll talk about that in the Tavern Talk, though. But what do we have coming up for the lovely people this week in our news segment?
Well, this week we are going to cover Week 11's Mythic Plus numbers. Raider IO is bringing back a really cool event, and Razer's cross-platform promotion with Warcraft, because I need another mouse.
Right. Just add them on top, right?
Yep. Just
one for each hand.
Start stacking all of them up.
Right.
Jordan, why don't we get this week going? What did you do this week?
So I actually did quite a lot of more tame content.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of friends that were coming back to the game, and actually, my sister actually just got into it, so I've been kind of walking her through it a little bit. And so we did Blackrock Depths. I've done it 2 or 3 times now, something like that, on 3 different characters, but I have been rocking some BRD just to get some of those, like, whatever they are, the time warped coffer tokens, so they can get the 584 pieces. Yep. And then just time walking dungeons in general too. They're a great work, especially for the weekly, 5 weekly one. Yep. So we did that a few times. And then PvP, I didn't actually do any solo shuffle. I didn't get my head too near the grindstone. I just did the weekly quests.
Yeah.
You know, the PvPing and zones and
all over.
And then Nick and I did a couple of delves together.
Yeah.
And then I also had done a couple with some newer players that just to kind of, it's easier to create kind of a dungeon situation in a delve than it is in like a time walking.
Good training environment.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And I forgot how like 9s and 10s and 11s are like no joke.
Yeah.
Like it turns it up to 11 up there. So Nick, what did you get up to this week?
Well, just like with you, did pretty much all those delves that we talked about. I ended up doing some of the guildies as well. And other than that, I was kind of playing hardcore. So it was, which kept me most of the week. I've been doing the refresh servers and kind of playing with that and seeing how it's been going, which has been great. Way more vibrant than the old servers. Other than that, I ended up actually downloading Trade Skill Master so I could start kind of playing around with the auction house a little bit. Pretty simple week for me. Not much going on. Jordan, what did the guild end up getting up to?
So the guild, we actually restarted our schedule, so we'll be raiding again starting Tuesday.
Woo.
And so, pretty excited. I'm excited for everybody to get back together for sure and pound some content. And this week, all we did was get a couple of our new friends that are coming back a little bit up to speed. And because we had Lu Fang came around for a little while, we have, Holy's been playing with us, like a bunch of, then, like I said, my sister hopped on. She won't be ready for normal raid, but my sister hopped on. So lots of exciting stuff going on for sure. But I'll definitely have more in this segment next week for sure. So I guess that brings us into the next week.
Yeah, what's coming up? What do we got?
So we have a time walking event. My guess is Cataclysm. Who knows, right? How did the saying go? Clock is right.
Pick one and go.
Right. If the clock is right twice a day or whatever, so we'll see if it's Cataclysm. That would be my guess.
Where does your guess come from?
Because it was Classic, Burning Crusade, Classic, Wrath, Classic. And so now I'm betting on Cataclysm.
Okay.
So that's what I'm betting on. But either way, you will be able to do some sort of time walking dungeon still, continuing next week.
Woo!
The no more delve bonus event. So Nick and I, like I said, we capitalized on it a bit that last week. We had some fun with it. But now it is the dungeon event. So this applies to every dungeon except Keystones. So you will get an additional loot from the last boss of a Mythic dungeon, like a Mythic 0 and lower difficulties, is what this event means. It's going to be actually pretty good with some of the buddies we have coming up and capping here recently. We'll be able to capitalize on that a little bit. And then the PvP brawl is Cooking Impossible this week, which this one's the goofy one, where you have to go run out and get ingredients. Sometimes you have to beat them and slice them up, and then you bring them back to the guy, or you stop other people from doing that. So it's kind of goofy. It's fun. I like this one more than Warsong Scramble, which was this week. So I'll be getting into some Cooking Impossible. I always like me some brawls.
Yeah.
And remember, now is a time we are now within a month of the end of the WoW 20th anniversary. Yeah. So if you really wanted something and you were putting it off, or there was a couple of sets you wanted or something like that, then
start going for it.
Well, now's the time to start maybe crunching. Make sure you get the kind of stuff you wanted to get. I'm pretty much done on it already. Like I have all this. You just get the tokens for playing the game. So
right. Pretty much. They made it very much. You kind of can just do what you're normally doing, and you're gonna pick up a ton.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of stuff. Weekly quests, PvP quests, sometimes campaign quests. So pretty interesting. They're all over the place. Mm-hmm. But I believe that's the end of the weekly schedule. So, Nick, you actually did a little bit of studying on some of the Mythic popularity numbers and how many people are actually doing runs and things.
Yeah. So we have some numbers. We'll put them up on screen and all that shenanigans. But with the bans happening in the Mythic realm and individuals reeling from how the community is being in that area, we thought we'd bring you some numbers on last week's overall Mythic dungeon performance. With Week 11 coming to a close, it brings some interesting numbers on the Mythic Plus front. We are seeing that the continued decline of Mythic Plus activity, although it is good to note that compared to Season 4 of Dragonflight, it's still strong. Looking at the comparison between Week 11 and 10, we can see that there is still a decline of just over 12%. It's a drop of player base from 1.16 million to 1.02 that are actually doing Mythics. But as stated earlier, it is still 4 times more than Season 4 of Dragonflight, which only had activity of 378,000. As for runs across that 1.02 million, over 80% were completed in time during Week 11, which still indicates strong performance in Mythic dungeons. And looking at numbers for each dungeon's completion, Myths of Tyrannus Scythe has a record of 152,405 runs, making it the most completed dungeon, and City of Threads only having 88,160 completed runs, making it the lowest, which I probably would agree with that. I don't like Myths, but it's still good. Note that it is just the completed runs, and when we bring in the fact of timed completed runs, the numbers change up a bit. We can see that Dawnbreaker leads with timed completion of 90.14%, success rate, and Grim Patrol with the lowest of 78.92. Even with the issues that have become present in the Mythic Plus community, players are still completing dungeons at an average rate of around 83%. And we're still seeing the community get into Mythic dungeons and complete them at a great success rate. When viewing the normalized chart for runs against previous seasons, the Dwarf in Season 1 is still doing pretty well. And that's going to wrap it up for this Week 11 numbers. Let us know what you think about it in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. We'll probably bring it up next week for Tavern Talk. Jordan, you got a Raider.io event and this Razer promotion that's going on. What do we got about this?
So I thought this non-meta competition is pretty interesting. They did make sure one specialization from every class. So I guess let me start at the top. This is a Raider.io organized event. So you'll have to have the Raider.io, either the add-on or the PC client, to make sure that you're feeding your information to Raider.io to participate. So we will have a link in the description with all the details. And North America specifically is the 10th through the 17th. Is December 10th through the 17th will be when you'll be able to do it, but you do have the other regions on there too that are happening later. It is essentially they're going to be doing Mythic Dungeon competition over a certain amount of time, but you can't run the strongest classes, right, which I thought was kind of interesting because they didn't. So they made it to where at least one specialization of every class could play it. So that way you can be a part of it, right? No matter what class you play. But they kind of took out like Balance Druid, for example, isn't in there, or Retribution Paladin isn't in there, or Augmentation Evoker isn't in there. So it's kind of interesting what they took out. Definitely take a look at what they chose, because I think it's interesting. Raider.io knows a lot about what the Mythic Plus community does, so I think their choices are definitely something to acknowledge and take a look at for sure. And then, yeah, Razer is giving away mounts with select peripherals. We'll have a link down in the description if you want to go buy those and take a look at it. But there is, I mean, I think they're pretty cool. Nick, actually, you said you liked these mounts a bit.
I think what the mounts, yes, they're cool. Is it going to make you go buy, another Razer Naga? No.
No, I guess it's a cool little bonus if you were in the market for a mouse. Then now might be time to pull the trigger.
Exactly. Otherwise, I'm like,
yeah, I'm not. And the truth of it is, some of them are exclusive right now. We will have it linked in the description down below, but it is the Coral Stalker Wave Ray and Reishi. I tried my best with that.
Yeah,
but
the Iron Sky Reaver.
Yeah, and then, the Iron Sky Reaver we've already had access to.
Okay. I see
but those are the two new ones that are original.
Come with it.
And so I imagine there's going to be these in the trading post before you get all your pitchforks out and be like, I can't afford a Razer mouse, but I just want the mount. Then they'll come out, they'll re-release it in the trading post. Chill out.
Yeah,
put the pitchfork away for now. The trading post is how they get away with stuff like this. Remember.
I would say like they just changed up a little bit. Well, and then Brutosaur, won't get into Brutosaur, but that
we have a couple episodes back. We kind of nailed that one home. Yeah. So yeah, I believe that is the end of our news. It was kind of a slow week.
Yep.
That's why our Tavern Talk is actually going to be pretty jam-packed today. We have a lot of interesting topics.
Yeah, we do.
So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about our opinions on this Mythic Plus system and what these numbers mean to us, then definitely listen to the Tavern Talk. But Nick, would you send us out?
Can do. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of the Valley of Spirits. We're your hosts, Jordan and Nick, your go-to Horde players. Join us in Dornegal on the Mal'Ganis server and look up our guild, the Electric Boogaloo, for some epic adventures. Stay connected with us on social media. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or X as it is known some days. By searching
Some days.
I like change it up.
Cracks me up every time you say that, yeah.
You can find us by searching the Valley of Spirits podcast. Don't miss an episode. Follow us on Spotify or anywhere you find your podcast, and check out our YouTube for additional content not found on our podcast platforms. Until next time, may your quests be glorious and your loot be plentiful. And as always,
for the Horde!